Cool. And we're live on TikTok. What's up, TikTok? We're just waiting to go live. And we are live. Good evening, everybody. Cece, you always surprise me when you do that.
I know. I like that. I like to do that.
Welcome to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio. And we are here on the Going Bold Network tonight. We are your hosts, Dr. Christopher Sloot and Cece Shatz. You are here watching The Boy and Girl Show. If you're watching on TikTok, welcome. If you're watching on Instagram soon, welcome there. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, 500 stations around the world, a million, Apple, whatever, thank you for watching. Tonight's topic, what are we talking about tonight, Cece?
What are we talking about? Intimacy, the timeline of it.
Yes, absolutely. So if this is your first time watching the show, I'll introduce myself real quick. My name is Dr. Christopher Sloot. I also host the barbershop here in the Going Bold Network. And I have a lot of things going on in my life. If you want to contact me for client and relationship coaching, I also own a couple magazines. Got a million things that we can talk about throughout the show. But Cece, I always love hearing your title. Who are you and what's your title?
My name is Cece Shatz, and I'm the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I do divorce, dating, and I'm a life transition coach. And I also began the Going Solo Network, which is the station, the WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network in 2016. And we change lives one talk show at a time.
Love it. Love it. You know, I had to actually just Google what a Doyenne was. I had no idea. Just now finally Googled what it is. So you are the most respected woman in that field. Is that what the Doyenne is?
I'm the queen. I'm the queen of divorce. No.
Yeah. Let's not ever, nobody should ever be the queen of divorce, right?
It depends. Somebody's got to be, because
cool.
It's really a leader, helping to connect others really through one of the darkest times in their lives, and bringing them to the other side, which is very rewarding. And we have wonderful coaches and mentors on our station here and throughout the Going Solo Network, which is now going to be, we're going to embrace the Going Bold Network too. So we're broadening and building, and I'm excited about everything that's going to be happening. It's really exciting.
Yeah, the Going Bold Network is going to be super exciting. I need to sign up as a coach on that site because I have so many things going on, but a lot of great things happening. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about the intimacy timeline. And Cece, how did this come up? Do you remember how this came up?
Yeah, I think somebody might have mentioned it in one of our shows. They questioned it. We talk a lot about dating and relationships, and that is kind of a key thing. So let's back it up a minute with regards to the timeline. So what does that mean to you? Does that mean sex to you? I mean, from a guy's perspective?
That's a good question. It's something I wanted to talk about because to me, intimacy means so many different things, but I actually don't care what kind of intimacy we're talking about, because to be quite honest, there's different levels of intimacy that I think we should be talking about, right? So to me, the intimacy timeline is the same no matter what kind of intimacy it is, whether it's physical or whether it's just, emotional intimacy or psychological intimacy. I think there should be a timeline for all those things. And one thing that we'll jump into kind of the topic, and one thing that I've experienced and I'm starting to pull back on in my previous experience when I first started really dating a lot, when I first really started getting involved in dating and that kind of stuff, after my divorce. I could have used you, the Doyenne of divorces. But one thing that I realized was I was getting far too intimate emotionally with people. And somebody told me this. They told me that I was engaging in something called, and I think we coined the phrase, I was engaging in something called a micro relationship, in that people were getting to know me very quickly. And then we went through all the levels of intimacy, and then the relationship dropped, right? And what I learned was a couple of things. Number one is getting too intimate in that way definitely is a hindrance to the relationship, because then there's not much left to share, right? But number two, after doing this over and over and over, I let way too many people in on the intimate details on my life. So Sam Ohio says that she experiences that as well. I let way too many people in on the intimate details of my life. And as you know, Cece, some of that was put on the internet about me. And so, you know, when
very
you
good reading too, I might add.
thank you. Good reading.
But you
And
do
so,
know a lot of things you see on the internet is not true.
right. So a lot of it's not true, but I'll say some things that were true. Marcy says, greetings from Iowa. Hey, Marcy, how are you?
Hey.
And so, thank you so much for hanging out. So, you know, there were things that were shared about me on the internet. For example, that I was exploring the idea of being polyamorous at one point. I'll say it now. I'm a dom.
You did do a show on it.
Yeah, right. I'm also a dom. Like, I'm a dominant guy, not just in the bedroom, but I tend to be a dominant force, like in a room. You know, like I tend to kind of take over a room. And
I wouldn't say that.
you wouldn't say that because I yield to you, Cece. I bow to the Doyenne. But when I shared that with too many folks intimately, because I was so wanting that validation. I was so wanting that feeling of intimacy with several people, because I bounced, right? Because this one didn't work, and then I went to this one, and this one didn't work, and then I went to this one. It took me a few times to learn, do not share those intimate. So when we talk about intimacy, don't share those intimate details with everyone. A, because then they're not intimate, right? They're no longer special. And B, now you got a bunch of people who know a bunch of crap about you, and they're all going to talk about you, because I mean, and it's no secret, right? I dated in that influencer world, right? I dated in that plus size influencer world. And so how was I supposed to know the algorithm was going to get them all together, right? So, you know, so they talked, and they were like, yeah, this guy's kind of got the same, I mean, you know, picks up women the same way. Okay, I only know how to do it one way. You know what I mean? So
it's not always a bad thing. But,
no.
you know, here it is that it sounds like to me, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like to me that you were just really wanting, kind of hungry to make a connection, right? To make the ultimate connection with someone. And maybe you didn't do it all exactly right or perfect, but you were trying your best to make this type of connection, to find maybe the one. And it didn't really kind of work out. And so I think a lot of us are doing that when we start dating. We're looking, and we really do. I mean, some of us don't want to, some of us just want to hook up, but the ones that really are looking for that connection, there's this balance of whether, you know, to go full steam ahead, or do you step back, or do you know, how do you slowly, you know, maneuver all of the, you know, the details of building a relationship. And so that's really what this is about, I believe. It's not just about sex. It's about, how do you take each step as you're building a relationship where you're comfortable with it, but you're progressing in a positive way, because you still have to have that movement of growth, right? With the relationship.
And I want to bring up, so I've got Tori Marie 69 here on TikTok, and she's bringing up some good points. She says, first of all, poly is so taboo. It's still such a taboo topic. And I'll hit on that for a second. And then she also says it's hard to know what to share and when. And I want to hit on that real hard for a second. So first, I want to hit on your poly thing. I will say that polyamory is definitely becoming a little bit more accepted, I think, with new shows that are coming out, and just people. Here's the thing, right? Cece, you're going to kill me for saying this, but monogamy as we know it is dead. Okay, because we think we're monogamous, but what we really mean is we're monogamous for some time. Because then what winds up happening is, unfortunately, the divorce rate is the highest it's ever been, right? People are finding new spouses, they're finding new people to date. And so they're monogamous, they're serial monogamous, but that's not monogamy. Monogamy is lifetime partner, right? So what's happening is you're moving from one partner to the next. You still have 3 lifetime partners in your lifetime, right? So you're right. Poly should be getting more exposure, because for some people it works, right? The other thing you said, Tor Marie, and you said you're grateful for the exposure. We'll talk about that. You said, you know, you don't know what to share and what not, and that is such a challenge for me, Cece, because when I'm into somebody, you know, there's typically, you know, and as a man and as somebody who's on social media, you know, I engage and I date and I flirt. And I'm not gonna say that I don't do it. I'm not. because I'm an attractive guy, and women will message me, and sometimes I get a feeling and I'll message somebody, right? Or I'm on, when I'm on dating apps, I'm on 2 or 3 at a time because I'm trying to find the person, and so I'm talking to 5 or 6 people. I am, and so, but there's always that one person, right? That one person that I really want to work with, and I'm nervous. I don't know what to share with them, because do I scare them away? Do I not scare them away? Do I, what do I do? And that's super challenging for me.
But it's like a dance. I mean, you're always like wanting to go steam ahead, and which is great. I mean, it's kind of nice for women because we know exactly where you stand, right? You're right in it all the way. Your feet are both in. And it's hard when someone isn't, when someone's kind of stepping back and they're very reserved. You don't know exactly where you do stand with that. We do have a comment here. So
a comment?
Yeah.
And while you're totally have been there too, and it's hard to know what to say. So here's something that someone brought up. Michelle4292 here on TikTok says, and I love this. My coach says this all the time, not just about, okay, let me say the thing. Everyone does not deserve to know everything about you. So that's what Michelle says. I'm going to take it one step further. And my life coach says to me, she's such a dear person in my life, and she says to me, why do you have that promiscuous life sometimes where you do have the one night stand? These folks do not, they don't deserve your body for one night. They didn't earn your body. She's talking about mine. And I think to myself, I never thought of my body like that. I never thought that my body was such a prize until, before I met her, because for a couple of years now, I've thought my body is a prize. My body is something to be cherished and thought of. But, the intimacy timeline is so interesting because we want we are wired, right? We're wired to want each other. Do you think so? I mean, what do you think, Cece?
Oh yeah, I agree with that. And wasn't there an article about that? We just read an article in Men's Health about that, and
yes.
they talked about that. What was the term they used? Now I can't remember what the term.
I have it pulled up. How many days? This was a good one. We'll talk about this a little bit longer, but I don't remember the term that they used.
Yeah, I don't remember. I can't was looking in here, but basically it was if someone was a little bit more, restricted and unrestricted. That's the term they used.
Can you explain that?
You're restricted where you're a little bit like I'm a little bit. Well, I mean, compared to you, I'm a little bit standoffish, a little bit more. As far as sexual goes, but you are not restricted at all. You're saying, let's go for it, baby. But yeah, but
not always.
Even in I'm gonna just walk.
You're gonna walk a fine line.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna stop because I'm walking in the mud here.
No, you're fine. We've got to go on TikTok. I'm not a hoe. Okay.
Oh, yes, he is.
No, I am very selective about who I
shouldn't say that. I'm just
teasing. You go on a lot of dates, but on that note, this is the TikTok conversation is getting so great. We have to exit though, folks. If you want to join us, we're heading over to Instagram now, or you can check us out on my Shoreby. Just go on Facebook or YouTube and type in "Going Solo Network the Intimacy Timeline." Right there.
WGSN. Going Solo Network.
Thank you for joining. You guys rock. I've got Marcy, Michelle, Tori Marie. You guys have been great. Thank you. Folks have been so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to us.
That was great. Such great feedback. And if you wouldn't mind, just kind of
so I'll talk while you get that going. So he's going to go over on Instagram. So this article was quite interesting because they talked about whether you're restricted in your sexual prowess, I guess you would call it, or you're unrestricted. And what it really went on to say is that it doesn't really blend, right? So if your appetite for sex is much more, then you're unrestricted, and if you're restricted, then you take a little bit more time with it, but they don't blend because I guess the hot and cold water isn't blending, that type of thing. So, but whatever. So that's kind of what it said. And then it went on to talk about like how many dates you weighed and that kind of thing. Remember the 3-day date?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the other article that we were looking at what was that one was the insider.com.
Yes.
And that one, I was very intrigued by that because it said, throw out the 3 dates. They said the normal, cool man thinks it's okay to wait 5 dates, and the woman says 9 dates. And I was like, holy smokes, I'm in my last quarter of my life. I could be dead in 9 days. I don't think I can wait till 9 days.
So if you're just joining us here on Instagram, Cece was referencing an article, and it said, so we're talking about what your intimacy timeline is, right? Cece was saying that most men look at about 5 dates is a good time to wait for we're talking about physical intimacy.
I have never met a man that would wait for 5 dates. I mean, now, usually it's like an hour, okay?
Or 5 minutes. Now she says that women, typically wait they want to wait about 9 dates.
9 dates.
Now, that to me is a little excessive given. Again, I mean, we're in a
must be unrestricted. We
must be unrestricted, yeah. We're in a different time. It used to be, and I miss, I kind of miss this time when it was like you wore my jacket or my pin and we did wait and it was one-on-one and we kind of learned about each other. I do. I'm not going to lie about it. I do think we rush into these things. And I think that, I will say that some or most of the best relationships that I've had, I tended to wait a little bit longer to sleep with someone.
2 hours.
At least 2 hours. Or at least, no. But, more so than anything, well, thank you so much, unapologetically fat girl. I appreciate you. Oh, and my alarms are going off. I got to turn my alarms off. I hate when I do that. My alarms tell me to go to bed tonight. I always have to turn those off. I think that's
but here's the thing, and I was thinking about it.
Thank you.
And it's not just about it's not just about sex. You go through the different, and anyone listening, I know we've got some listeners out there that are watching us. So if you want to make a comment, we love to hear what you have to say. But it's not just about sex. It's about the progression of the relationship as you're building it, right?
Yeah.
And so you might end up having sex, but you haven't actually given away your heart, Yes. And so that starts building and building. And that's, to me, is the ultimate. To be able to do that. And so there's a lot of different progressions, holding hands, maybe touching someone's arm, giving them a kiss, all these progressions of being intimate with someone as you progress within the relationship. So it's not just about sex, but they also said in the article, that a lot of people feel like, well, they don't want to put a lot of time in if you're not sexually compatible.
Well, yes. So sexual compatibility is definitely something you want to think about, but you can talk about. See, so this is where it's so confused. So first of all, I want to shout out. A lot of folks are giving us some comments. So I think Michaela got frustrated that I wasn't answering her and she left. But Carissa is talking about it's hard to find a genuine person that wants to get to know you before getting to have sex. 3 to 5 dates, depending on the vibe. Marcy says 2 dates, LOL. And once I've decided it should happen, 75 minutes on average. At 46 is my timeline. I want to address that for a second. Brandy's here. She's waving. Timorie's here. So I want to address that for a second too, because, I'm going to correct you for a second, Marcy, and I'm going to pick on you for a second because, and we've got Little Edwards here. We've got some other folks. It's when you and your partner decide together because both of your bodies are to be cherished. Because I've been in those situations where someone else decides that I'm sleeping with them. And because, to be quite honest, I had such a need for validation and such a need for acceptance, I let it happen earlier than I should have. Timory says, stop with the rules, let it happen. She says, I think you mean organically, but let me talk about this for a second. There are, in my opinion, there are a couple of things that should be discussed prior to sex. And I'm going to tell you that I don't always practice what I preach because I have been serious about people and said, I don't want to sleep with you. I want to engage in this, I want to get to know you. I want to play a board game. I want to go get coffee. I really have. And then it's like, all right, well, now it's late. Are you staying over the night? Like, are you going to stay over? And then it's like, well, how do you, sometimes they roll over on you and then there's snuggling involved and then it happens, and it just happens and it's not the best thing, but it happens. Right. But sometimes, and Carissa says, I wouldn't say it's rules. It's more healthy boundaries. Here's the thing. There are a few things that I want to talk about before I engage in that level of intimacy. I want to engage in another kind of intimacy before it's that kind of intimacy. Here's the intimacy I want to talk about. First of all, I want to know what your stance is on children. And I know that that's a really difficult conversation to have, so we probably shouldn't have it first date. So maybe we shouldn't be sleeping together first date. Because if we're not on the same page about children, and a child can happen, then maybe we ought to slow this thing down, right? Because I'm at an age right now, 36 years old, I'm ready to have a baby. I'm ready. But at the same time, I totally respect somebody's right to not have that baby, right? I want to have that conversation with somebody if that were to happen, right? I'm pro-choice all the way. But I also want them to know that at this point in my life, if I'm engaging in that activity with you, I'm going to take responsibility. Like, I'm going to be accountable. The other things that we should be talking about. Number 2, let's talk about what our safe words are. Let's talk about how we're doing things. Cause I'm a bigger guy. I'm a dominant person. Like, I'm always going to ask for consent, but there's a certain style that I have intercourse with, right? Now, let's talk about that. Is that not your vibe? Is that not your thing? Is the compatibility there, right? And the third thing that I want to talk about is, let's talk about lifestyle for a second. Like, are you settling down? Is this a one-night thing for you? Is this do you see where this is going? Because that's going to dictate to me where I see where this is going. Because I've been engaged at times where I thought, well, this is somewhere I think I want to see this go somewhere. And so we engage in that level of intimacy, right? And then after it's over, I've had somebody say to me, well, that was dope, but like, see you later. And I'm like, wait, what? Because I liked you. Like, I thought we were.
We've got a couple. We've got a couple of things here too.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Okay, I think we can confuse intimacy with sex. Intimacy is definition to build over time. It's closest, similarly growing in time. 90 days for hormones to settle down, then see what substance is.
That's super important to talk about. So Elizabeth says we're confusing intimacy with sex, and I completely agree. So intimacy to me, I talk about my ex-wife, and it's too bad that it ended. It's too bad that it ended the way it ended. But you want to talk about intimacy, and even certain partners that I've had, you want to talk about intimacy. You want to talk about crying in front of your partner because of things that, God, I mean, you want to see me cry. Like, you want to see, put my house into 4 feet of water, right? Hurricane Sandy, right? Have me quit a job and not really know where my business was going, but thinking this was a good idea. And my wife, I mean, when I say she picked me up from the damn collar and she dragged me to church to pray, and I wasn't even that religious at that point, and she sat with me and she held me and she nurtured. And when I talk about I'm a dominant guy, you don't nurture me. You don't tell me where to go or what to do. And this woman picked me up by my bootstraps and she nursed me back to health. That is intimacy that you cannot find in 1 night, 2 nights, 50 nights, 60 nights. That is years and years of intimacy. That is the feeling that I want when I'm engaging in that type of activity with someone. I don't know, Cece, what do you think about?
Here's the thing is that you, and I always say that, here's the thing, I shouldn't say that. For me, it's not so much, it's the time before you actually have sex, and it's the time after you have sex. Mm-hmm. It's not the actual act of having sex. And that can be intimate depending upon how you go about with it, how you go about doing it, but because you're sharing of oneself. And so it's really what, like you said, you've had sex with women and afterwards it's like, okay, well, thanks. That was great. And they're out the door. Well, then there's no intimacy there at all. There's none whatsoever. So you've that's exactly what it was. It was just sex. We have another comment here.
I read that relationships last longer when men feel comfortable with emotional intimacy and women feel safe with physical intimacy. I want to comment on that for a second. You can comment first if that's okay, Cece. I just want to share this video real quick.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that when men feel comfortable and they share emotionally of themselves, they definitely, they have to feel safe. Of course, the woman, they have to feel safe to be able to do that. But when they do that, that's when they're building a relationship with you.
Yeah.
When they start to be comfortable and they start talking about things that are difficult, they become a little bit more emotional. They become vested in you. Yeah. And then women, we feel safe, with the physical. I'm not sure about that. women feel safe physical intimacy. I don't think so. I don't think women feel safe with the physical.
Well, I think what man is saying is that men will feel safer when they feel emotionally cared for, and women will feel safer when they're physically cared for. And I do agree with that.
Oh, physically cared for. Yeah, that's true.
Because true. I read actually a couple of years ago, and I found this to be very interesting. Men typically, hold on, Mr. Murray, that level of intimacy you share with your wife heightens all aspects of the relationship, like sex. Yes, and we'll definitely hit on that. But I read something interesting a couple of years ago that men tend to cheat for emotional reasons. They're looking in a partner. They're looking for that affection, that attention. Women tend to cheat for physical reasons. They're not being cared for physically, and it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because the dichotomy of the way men and women express themselves, typically and historically, men express themselves physically and women express themselves emotionally. So I'm going to interpret that emotional safety as a man as a safe place for me to be intimate and to share those things. Women, the one thing that women, I think, need to think about more so than men need to think about is their physical safety. Because, and I say this to every woman that, if they're in my family, if they're friends of mine, if they're, sons or daughters, I say, look, I don't care how big you are. I don't care how strong you are. Men have strength that is just, it's there. It's a very real strength, and men can hurt women in ways that it's unfortunate. And so I think a man walks into a room, he doesn't really have to think about that too much, but a woman does. And so when a woman feels that physical safety in bed, I think that they do open up a little bit more intimately, because they know that they're safe. They're in a safe place.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying with that. I also think, and sometimes in relationships, women, as we're in the relationships, and I've seen this and probably even done it myself, is that women are very nurturing, but then we start mothering, right?
Sure.
And that's not what the man needs. He doesn't need that emotional type of maybe to some extent, but
there's a fine line, right? All men want to date their moms, right? It's not like the thing, right? They look for another mom.
Yeah, but they don't want you to be their mom.
No. But it's true. I mean, but men look for that. And I want to acknowledge what Tim Marie said too. That level of intimacy, I agree with you. That level of intimacy heightens the rest. And we started this conversation off by Cece saying I was a little bit promiscuous, and you're not entirely wrong, but I will say this, and it's something that I've curbed over the past couple of years for sure, but because I do want to find that person, and I don't want to be the lock that's unlocked by every key. You know what I mean? Those nights, those kind of one night stands, I mean, they were primal, they were sweaty. They were whatever they were, and they weren't all that great. It's like sometimes I don't even remember them. I don't even remember the physicality. I don't remember if it was good, if it was bad, if it was whatever. Just kind of remember the emotions, and that's terrible. When we talk about physical intimacy, you need, I think, to get to know somebody. One thing we didn't talk about. I need somebody to know about my history before we're sleeping together, because I need you to know that I'm going to make you feel safe all the time, right? And you need to know what's going on with me. What did Tim Marie say to you? I wasn't reading.
I was right.
The line gets filled with nursing a man too much. Most women, yeah, that for sure. But that's important. I think engaging in that kind of intimate act. Did we take a break yet? By the way.
No, we can't, because I forgot to put it up. In my excitement of doing the show, I forgot to put our advertisement up. So you get us the whole time.
There you go.
There's another comment here. We're getting a lot of comments. Thank you so much for the comments. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Depressed friend says she doesn't want to talk, and that she doesn't want to talk to anyone, but she's online on WhatsApp. Makes me confused as why she stays online, but she doesn't talk to anybody. That's interesting. So, not really on the intimacy timeline, but we can still chat about that. Mm-hmm. What's interesting about that is it's taken me a long time to understand, a damn long time, like up until recently, that if somebody says they don't want to talk to you, but they're online, they still don't want to talk to you. Right?
I was going to say that.
they still want to be online. You'll catch me at times. I'll say I don't want to talk to somebody, and it's true. I'm not, and maybe I want to talk to one person, but I don't want to talk to another person. Just a certain vibe, or I'm embarrassed, or whatever.
Or or something going on with your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're in a place, the zone.
Look,
I mean, I'm online a lot, but
yeah.
doesn't mean I can talk and chat all the time.
Yeah, I'm sharing memes. I'm liking pictures. I'm in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like I'm just doing my
Do
thing.
you think having sex too early can ruin intimate connection or potential relationship?
You want to go first on that one? I have some thoughts.
Well, I think that if you're comfortable with it, I think you have to kind of know where you stand as you're moving forward.
Yeah.
And so, like you had mentioned that you had those three things that you talked about, that you wanted children, and I think some of that conversation needs to take place, especially your last one. Like, what are you really looking for in a relationship?
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're on the same page before you, because you want, it's almost like you can have sex. I hate to say this, but you can have sex and it's almost like a lockdown, right? If all of things are in place and then you have sex, it's like the ultimate. You've actually shared and you've kind of really made that true connection with somebody that you can continue on building a relationship with. But if you don't have that at the beginning and you do have sex, then you might have, pushed the cart to the different direction, and it may not go. It's like a fine, again, dating is a dance, and you've got to dance. You've got to have the movements, you have to have the play, you've got to keep going with it in order for it to be the ultimate relationship that you want. And you've got to take those various steps. You can't necessarily rush it, but hey, if you both are in, go for it, right?
There's a couple of things I want to hit on, and I want to make sure we've got some other comments too that we want to hit on as well. But Victoria, here's a couple of things I'll tell you. Number one is if there's compatibility there, there's compatibility there, right? The problem is knowing whether you have compatibility before or after you sleep with each other. So I've seen it go both ways. I've been in relationships where we slept together the first weekend we met, and then we lasted for 2 years. I've had things where we slept together too early, maybe second or third date or whatever, and then it kind of flopped from there, right? That compatibility, in my opinion, is going to be there whether it's there or not. The problem is whether you're okay with finding that out before or after you slept with someone, right? If you're cool with having that kind of casual, hey, look, I need this, you need this, we're in the mood, let's do, we are falling all over each other, let's do it. Cool, do it, right? But if you're not sure about somebody in that regard, then hold off on it. I think, if the compatibility is there, it'll probably force you to answer some questions a little bit earlier than you would have normally, like contraception, children, lifestyle, that kind of stuff. So that's important to note. The other thing that we should note is that we tend to get to know each other quite a bit more through technology. So there's a level of intimacy, and I'll say intimacy because you're not face to face always, but you get to know somebody pretty darn well online. Let's say you match on Tinder or whatever, and you take a couple of weeks before you meet. That couple of weeks could have some pretty cool, intimate, pillow talk kind of conversations. Let's say you met through a friend through social media and you're in different parts of the country. You could be talking for 6 to 8 to 12 months before you meet. And so there's definitely some intimacy there that can take place before that physicality even happens. So, can you sleep with each other at that point? Sure. I mean, it's up to you as to what you want to do,
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Something it came to mind when you were talking was that, when I have seen a guy, right, when I've gone on a date, I know almost pretty close to the very beginning whether I'm interested enough to sleep with them.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to sleep with them, right? But I know that I'm interested enough to start doing the dance, start making the moves, start, doing the letting the chemistry build. And I think we don't do that enough sometimes. I don't think we let that chemistry build enough that when you do have, when you finally do have sex, it is very intimate,
And one thing that I want to mention too, as a man, I don't know. Somebody gave me some advice once because, there was one person that I was talking to, and you know who it was, but I didn't express that I wanted them physically. And, somebody said to me, you're a man and you wanted them physically. That's in your DNA. You should express that, right? If you don't let them know that, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And I took that to heart because, to me, if we're not gonna to sleep together, that's fine. But I'm gonna let you know that I'm into you if I'm into you, because A, I don't want you to question that, and B, it's your right to say absolutely not on the first, second, third date, whatever. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to express that I'm interested in it. You know what I mean? If I want you physically, I'm going to say something about it. I'm not going to be crude about it. I might even go for a kiss on that first night. And if you push me away, okay, have a good night. I'll walk you to your door. But
women want that. We want to know. We want to know that you're into us. We want to know that you want us, you desire us. We want to know. We just don't want you to be pushy about it.
Right.
We do. And we want you to be respectful and, and allow us time to catch up with you. But, oh yeah, I mean, that's the biggest turn on, I think, is that a guy, and that he's a gentleman, that he continues to be a gentleman, but he definitely lets you know that he's interested. And there's many ways, without being vulgar, that you can let a woman know that you would like to take it to the next level, or just say, gee, I'm really interested in you. I'd love to see you again. I'd love to, whatever. And we know right away, if you do that, okay, here's the deal. When you're dating, when you're starting the initial beginning of the date, guys, listen up. Your job is to go for the next date. Okay.
Right.
If you like her, ask for the next date. Right. It's almost like, I'm dating a guy now and he's a salesman and he's perfect. He's absolutely perfect because he knows, he goes right for, the next time. And don't hold back from that, because if she wants to know, I mean, she's not there. She's not meeting you because she's not interested. Right.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I know you want to load up some more comments. I'm going to say one thing.
Let me do that because I know we're getting them here. So,
but the one thing I want to mention is that, well, go ahead. Okay. So they say they want to be distracted online, but not talk about their desperation, anxiety. That's absolutely, I think that's talking about Mateus's comment. That makes sense for sure. Okay. And oftentimes, we talk about that too much. Elizabeth says, yes, it's science. Hormones can create an illusion so easily. I want to talk about this for a second. And people buy into something that isn't real and regret sex later and feel hurt. I want to talk about that for a second. And I agree with that. It is so challenging when that happens, because your body is telling you, your body can replicate feelings of intimacy and almost close to love. It's lust, right? Lust and love are just a thin line away from each other. Your body can tell you that you want that person in all the ways that you want that person, because your body is programmed to want to make some stuff happen, right? You need to really take a second look at what you're about to say. I said this just recently. I said, you would be shocked at how men's hormones, men's organs, let's talk about that, force us to say things that we just shouldn't have said. A man who learns from that, all I do is just for a split second go, that is not what you're about to say. And I go, think with this head for a second. Now say what you're going to say. Mm-hmm. Because you will say something, it could be sexy, but it could also be stupid. You could find yourself in like this emotional black hole where you're just trying to get out of it because you want this person so physically that your brain is so scattered and wired incorrectly, right? So to think with your brain for a second and go, wait a second, am I really attracted to this person all in, or am I just attracted to the person in front of me, right? And then if you think about it, you go, oh, that's what it is. Let me just take a step back, say what I want to say properly so that I don't sound like an idiot and make a fool of myself. So I think it's super,
Well, and that's why you want to wait. You want to wait. You don't want to have sex on the first time you meet someone. I call that a meetup anyhow. I don't even call that a date. And I don't even care if you buy me dinner at that meetup. It's a meetup, and we're not counting it as a date.
That's a date.
So then you have to go at least three more dates. And I know they say don't even with 3 days, but at least 3 more dates, because you got to build something, right?
Yeah.
If you go straight in, you're not building something. And so you just can't do that. So let's go on to the next one. I think this gentleman's still talking about, she told me several times she wanted to talk. And okay.
Yeah. And then if you can load up the next one too.
Yeah.
So, what I would say, Mateo,
that old saying, she's not into you, sweetheart.
Well, it could be that, but it could also be, honestly, there are people that I've been into that I just don't have the capacity. Like there have been times, and
I'm sorry, she's not into him. Sorry, she's not into him, because you know what? If I was into you, sir, I would say, okay, just give me a minute and I'll come back to you, or let's talk at this time. I wouldn't let you go away without knowing that I wanted to talk to you.
Could be.
If she's telling you, hey, I'm online, and there's no time to talk to you, go. You need someone better in your life.
There's 2 answers to that. One is she could genuinely mean that she just can't talk right now.
She's too nice.
She's too scrambled. No, but here's the thing. Here's the second thing that I'll say.
Out there, am I wrong? I don't think so. I'm
not arguing with you. Here's what I'll tell you. No matter what her response is, Mateus needs to leave that room and let her come to him if she's going to come back at all.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Okay, let's see. Okay, I love this lady here. She says, I'm right again on this one. Let's see. When a guy makes his intentions known.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Women analyze everything is clear.
I'll say this a couple times too, and I think Mana's on the same page. She says, if you want to load that one up, respectful, open, and honest.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh wait, I got excited over the.
You just love when somebody agrees with you. Respectful, open, and honest communication is super important to being intimate. Be direct. So I agree with both Timmery and Mana, and I'll say this. I'll say a couple things. One is, I'm going to make it clear early on that I want someone physically for a couple of reasons. Number one is I want them to know where I stand. I want them to know that I'm a physical person. I like affection, right? And if that's not something they're cool with, that's fine. Then we may not vibe, because that's going to be how I express myself, right? Number two, I tend to, and again, if you've watched this show before, like I date exclusively plus size women who don't often hear that as much as straight size women do hear that. So I want them to know, I don't like you in spite of your size. I like you as a product of your size. Like I like you and I want you physically, right? Number three is this. I'll give you guys listening a little tip. You can respectfully, or maybe even a little flirtatiously, tell a woman that you're into their body, and that gives them a clue that you're into them without giving out too much of yourself, right? When I am flirtatious with somebody, but I'm not ready to give all of it away, I might say something like, oh, that's hot, like, or you're looking sexy or whatever. I might even, if they say something like, tell me what your favorite color is, I might even jokingly say something like, I don't discuss that until after we've had sex. Like a joke, you know what I mean? Like that's pillow talk. Like, let's get some ice cream out and we'll talk about that.
Well, okay. Let me tell you something. Women know you want to go with bed with us without even saying you want to go.
They don't all.
We do like to hear it, but we can tell by the way you look. Ladies, tell him. We can tell by the way you look at us and your demeanor, leaning forward, all of those kind of things. We can certainly tell. And okay, I'm right again about the he needs to move on. Yeah.
Right. So Elizabeth says,
and you know what? There's something about the chase, right? There's something said about that. And so when a woman, you're going forward, and if the woman isn't coming, then you want to back it up and let her come. Let her come.
A little bit, for sure.
That dance movement. Okay. Sure.
If she's not, so Elizabeth says if she's not enthusiastically pursuing, right? So that is, that's one of my TikToks that went viral. If they're not, I think I said if they're not enthusiastically and emphatically kicking down your door, then drop it. And, I don't follow my own advice because I've chased the woman who's not emphatically knocking down my door.
So now we're saying here, careful with that advice because it sometimes leads women into suspicious.
Because I said something about when I flirt physically instead of emotionally, I think is what she's saying.
Oh, okay.
What are they suspicious of? Look,
we think alike. I think we do. I think we do think alike.
I make no mistake in saying, look, here's who I am. I'm a guy. I'm I'm a man. And look, I'm an emotional guy. I'm a sensitive guy. I'm not your typical guy. I don't watch sports all the time. I don't power lift and bro talk and all that stuff.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I probably. But at the end of the day, I'm a man, and I have certain hormonal things that are going to lead me and guide me, and I'm going to make it known that I want you physically if I want you. Now, it's up to you to tell me if that's okay, if that's not. I'm not going to be disrespectful about it at all.
Well, when do you do that? The timeline. When do you do that?
You know what?
You're not going to do that on the first date. You're certainly not going to do that on the first date. If you do, then it's really just a physical thing. You've got to build. You have to allow some time, and that's why I think that I know it's a stupid rule, the 3-day rule. Go at least 3 dates. At least 3 days. And the other thing is, give the guy 3 dates. Don't shoot him down, right away unless it's a total no. But give him 3 dates because you know what? Allow him to let his personality show through, and the way he is, the essence of him come through before you actually shoot him down. Unless you're totally, there's times that you go on a date and it's like, okay, it's not going to happen.
I'm all about more dates, but to me it depends on the interaction that I've had. I won't initiate too early, but if somebody else, so I've had situations where I'm too respectful, right? I'm too respectful. Maybe I don't say it. And then all of a sudden somebody throws out a zinger. Like, I'll be like, oh, that's so good. And they'll be like, well, I'm always good. And I'm like, wait, what? You said what? And now like, wait, what just happened? Now I've got to backtrack because now I'm behind on this, I'm behind the 8 ball now. I've got to catch up and be a little sexy. So I've had that happen. I've also had that situation too, where, maybe it's not going anywhere. We've talked about all the things that we want to talk about, and then it hasn't gotten to that point. So I might just make a joke about it, or I might just, like somebody be like, oh man, I had a really stressful day, and we've talked for 6 weeks and we've gone on 2 dates or whatever. And I might say something like, well, did you schedule some alone time in there or something like that? Something not too graphic. And they go, oh yeah, I always do that before bed or something like that. Now, okay, so now we know that you have a sexual organ, right? Like we know that exists, right? So at least, it's a joke or something like that. So there's a million and one ways for that conversation to happen. I don't know. I disagree with you that the timeline has to be set in stone because people vibe.
No, I don't think it has to be set in stone. I think that you just have to you should give it a little bit of time. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having sex on the very first date if that's truly what you want to do. It's up to you, but you haven't allowed anything to build. The first date, they don't know you from Adam. So
and like Hannah says, if you're respectful about it and you're direct about it and say, look, I don't know where this is going, but right now I'm attracted to you and I would like to take this to whatever level. There's a funny, hold on, I'm gonna see if I could find it. Have you seen the movie A Beautiful Mind?
See, and then what I would say to you, because I have had guys say that to me, and then I would say to them, well, honey, you got to work for it, and then, you move on with the conversation. Just move on. You got to work for it.
I'm gonna see what. Okay, so there's a great. I'm gonna read this to you because it's fantastic. There's a great line from John Nash in A Beautiful Mind, where he's trying to hit on this woman, and he says there's two different ones. I'm gonna read the better one. He goes, "Have you seen this movie? He's definitely on the spectrum. He's a mathematician, and he goes, I find you attractive. Your aggressive move towards me indicate that you feel the same way, but still ritual requires that we continue with a number of platonic activities before we have sex. I'm proceeding with these activities, but in point of actual fact, all I really want to do is have intercourse with you as soon as possible." And then there's a pause, and then he goes, "Are you going to slap me now?"
Yes, that was good.
That is kind of what men are thinking.
Yeah. Well, and I think women too. I mean, I think we're human. Like I said, I mean, as soon as I can tell whether I'm, attracted to someone or not. So so I get it. Okay, here we're talking about, it's talking about, I think 3-day rule works well until you bring in virtual time.
Yes.
So if I'm talking to someone for a month before we can meet in person, we have a good basis the first date. Yeah, we feel like a third date. Yeah, no, I get that. I get it. If you're talking, I mean, my ex-husband lived in England, and so we had a long distance relationship. So, and that was back in the day before cell phones, I'm sorry to say. But so I mean, you have to
I've been in those long distance. I've been in those long distance things too. And the way I kind of worked it was, let's get all the emotional stuff through the phone or through the Zoom or through whatever we're doing. Let's really get this all out. Because when I meet you, I'm not going to be able to stop myself unless you tell me I have to, right? And I don't think you're going to be able to stop yourself either. So, when that happens, you wind up spending a weekend just rolling around, and then on Monday we can talk more. But there is also something to be said about, I like the pillow talk that happens when you're in person. There's a certain euphoria that happens that lets you, you let things out a little bit more easy. I want to touch on one more thing too. I want to make sure everyone's on the same page too. Elizabeth said something really important. If she or they are not enthusiastically pursuing you, right? You don't give this to somebody that. And I disagree with you, Cece. I'm not going to work for you.
You disagree with me.
Yeah, we're both working for each other, right? You're working for this body as much as I'm working for your body. So, bottom line is, I got to stop keeping these alarms on. But the bottom line is, when they make it clear that they want you, then by all means, give them that. Too many times we give it up because we think it's like having a baby to save a marriage. You think that's going to help? That's going to kill it, right?
Oh, no, I agree. I don't think you should have sex unless you truly think there's something there. I mean, I don't know. I'm over the age of wham bam thank you ma'am type of thing. I mean, it's like mature. I think we're talking to a mature audience that is looking for a relationship, and so that's why I feel like before you have sex, you want to know you're on the same page, that you're going in the right direction, and you can be intimate in many different ways. I mean, the guy that I'm dating, he sends me cards. I mean, do you know? The feeling I had the first time I opened my mailbox and he actually mailed me a card. I mean, he wrote a little note in it. I mean, I keep every single one of them. And then my ex, when we were apart, he wrote beautiful letters to me, and I saved every single one of them and gave them to my son here recently. But it's just, the thing is, you can build that, and it's a beautiful thing to build on. So, I mean, don't rush into having sex, but have it when it's the right time for you. When women feel safe, when, men want to be emotional, try to build something.
Yeah. And we've got one more last question that we probably got to end, right?
Yeah, we got to end soon.
You have to have sex to save or create a relationship. It's already dead on arrival. I agree with that. I will say this, though, to counter that. I agree with you 1,000%. Just to add a little perspective, there have been situations where we were stagnant because I think we were both there was a tension there, and then the sex happened, or maybe even just a certain level of physical intimacy. It doesn't even have to be sex. And we both went, wow. All right, got that out of the way. Like, that felt good. And we kind of made a joke of it or whatever. And it really kind of sparked more. We laughed about it. We joked about it. We were more open. We were more vulnerable a little bit than maybe we would have, because we were both thinking that. Maybe it was date 2 or 3 or whatever. So, I've had that situation as well, where we just like, all right, good thing we were both thinking that. Let's do it,
Yeah. And I can relate to that too. It's like the first time after, my divorce, and I just thought, okay, I hadn't been with a man for many, many years. And I thought, let's just get it over with, and and let's just break the ice and get it over with. And it ended up being a relation. I ended up having a relationship with the guy, but it was a little probably faster than I would normally be. But I just felt like I had to just do that. But anyhow, so, building, I just want to close on this, and you can say your last words too. The building a relationship can be one of the most rewarding and valuable emotional things that you can do with your heart, with your mind, your heart, your soul. And so it's something that we don't want to take lightly, and we don't want to move too quickly, because we want to savor every minute of it, right?
Yeah.
Everything that we do at the beginning, and we keep building on it and building on it, we hope that it will progress into, just this wonderful, beautiful relationship that we can look back on, the beginning of it, and kind of laugh at some of the fumbles that we might make. And hopefully we have something great. And I hope you guys are enjoying the show. We are here bi-weekly, so I hope you guys will come back and talk to us again, because your comments are so important to us. We love each and every one, and it makes us think a little bit too, making sure we're on the topic, we know what we're talking about.
Yes.
So I hope you like it. So take it away, Christopher.
No, thank you. And Elizabeth said also, I agree with her, but the hookup culture doesn't value sex that way. And I tend to agree with that. And I want to close on this. I think it's super important that we have these conversations, though, because, here we're all men, women, all different, orientations, all that kind of stuff. And thank you, Timmery. We're all wanting the same thing, right? We're all wanting to feel safe and to feel heard and to feel valued. And yet this culture that we've engrossed ourselves into doesn't allow us to do it. Well, it's by having conversations like this, true, honest conversations that should happen more deeply and more personally with the one that you're with, right? When you have those conversations, that's when that intimacy becomes a reality. And that's when you can experience the things that I think we're lacking in this society. So let's continue to have those for sure. So thank you all for commenting. We really, truly appreciate you.
Yeah, it was a great show. And then you guys made it that way. So thank you so much for joining us. So we are here bi-weekly. It's the show is called The Boy and Girl Thing. We talk about the differences between men and women, how we think. And as you can see, we definitely do that. I am Cece Shatz, the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life transition coach. And we have Dr. Christopher Salute with us.
Thank you so much. And you are watching the Going Bold Network. And thank you so much for joining us on the Boy and Girl Show.
Yeah. So stick around. Remember, bi-weekly Wednesday, we have shows one right after another. And then we also have shows on the Going Solo Network on Thursdays. So you can join us right back here again. So we hope you liked it. We love you for it. And thank you so much. Thanks, Christopher.
Thank you, Cece. Bye, everyone.